Welcome. In the world of international trade, governments use various tools to regulate the flow of goods. Today, we're diving into two primary categories: tariff measures and non-tariff measures. Trade measures are essentially rules and regulations set by countries to influence what comes in and what goes out. They are fundamental to global commerce and trade agreements. The core purpose of many of these measures is to protect local industries from foreign competition, making domestically produced goods relatively more attractive to consumers. Tariff measures primarily deal with price, imposing financial duties on imports. Non-tariff measures, or NTMs, involve other restrictions like regulations or quotas. This video will give you a clear understanding of the tools governments use to manage trade. You'll learn to distinguish between the various tariff and non-tariff instruments, understanding why and how they are applied. First, we'll dive into tariff measures and their different types. Then, we'll cover the various non-tariff measures, including technical and non-technical barriers. Let's start with tariffs. Tariff measures are essentially taxes on imported goods. They are collected by the customs authority and directly increase the cost of foreign products. The primary mechanism of a tariff is simple. It makes imported goods more expensive compared to similar goods produced domestically, offering a price advantage to local industries. Tariffs come in three main types: ad valorem, calculated as a percentage of the product's value; specific, based on the physical quantity; and compound, which combines both. For instance, an ad valorem tariff means if a product is valued at $100 and the tariff is 10%, you pay $10 in duty, regardless of its weight or volume. A tariff rate quota, or TRQ, is a two-tier system. A lower tariff applies up to a specific quantity, and a significantly higher rate is imposed once that quantity is exceeded. This system protects domestic producers by allowing a certain amount of imports at a reasonable price, but making mass over quota imports much less profitable. Beyond standard duties and TRQs, governments use other measures that interact closely with tariff policy to regulate trade. These include local content requirements, which dictate that a percentage of a final product's components must be locally sourced. Local content requirements are often seen in sectors like oil and gas, ensuring domestic manufacturers benefit from large-scale production. Import quotas, common for textiles and agricultural products, physically restrict quantities. Once the quota is hit, any further imports face a much higher tariff. Import licenses are permits granted by the government to businesses, allowing them to import a specific type of good into the country. For example, seafood traders in India with a specific certification might be granted a special import license for a certain percentage of their free on-board value. Non-tariff measures are trade restrictions that aren't based on duties. They often take the form of regulations, standards, or procedures. NTMs sometimes emerge after a country lowers or eliminates tariffs through trade agreements, as countries seek other ways to mitigate revenue loss or protect local interests. The WTO requires that NTMs should not be overly restrictive and become trade barriers. However, it does allow for trade remedies like anti-dumping measures under stringent criteria to counteract damaging imports. Technical non-tariff measures focus on the intrinsic characteristics of the product itself, ensuring they meet specific standards for safety and quality. Sanitary and Phytosanitary, or SPS measures, are rules to protect human, animal, or plant life from risks like pests, diseases, or dangerous additives. A common SPS example is the banning of specific types of beef due to concerns over hormones or certain animal diseases. Technical barriers to trade, or TBT, are regulations governing labeling, packaging, and specific product standards that goods must meet before being sold in a country. An example of a TBT is requiring imported electronics to possess specific safety certifications before they are allowed to enter the market. Non-technical NTMs focus less on the product's characteristics and more on the quantity, pricing, or administrative requirements for trade. This category includes direct quotas, which are specific limits on the amount of goods imported, and import licensing, where permits must be obtained before goods can be brought in. The process of obtaining an import license adds administrative steps, which can slow down or restrict trade, even without a tariff increase. Non-technical measures also include anti-dumping duties, which are extra tariffs placed on goods sold below their production cost, and rules of origin, which decide if a product qualifies for FTA tariff benefits. Anti-dumping measures are critical trade defense tools used when imports are threatening to cause material injury to a domestic industry. In summary, tariff measures use price mechanisms like duties, while non-tariff measures use regulations, standards, or quantity restrictions. Both are essential tools for managing and shaping global trade dynamics. Thank you for watching this deep dive into trade measures. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe for more content on international business and economics. What measures should we cover next?